Hey guys, welcome to Panthera-Tora. Today I actually wanted to cover just a little something that I thought about. We will actually be talking about how to use the Ansel engine, which is built into Nvidia graphics cards. So I've had a lot of people not ask me specifically, but I've helped a lot of people on how to understand how to use this tool. And I feel like a lot of people just don't quite understand why some people can and why some people can't. This is a very cool shot that I will be using. But basically what it is it's built into a specific brand of graphics cards that people use. There's typically, I would say 3 brands. There's not technically 3 brands. There technically is, but basically what you have is Nvidia, which is a main graphics card company, AMD, which is a main graphics card and CPU company, and then Intel has their built-in graphics to their CPUs. So if you're on maybe a budget laptop or something like that, you'll probably have Intel and you won't be able to use this. And then some budget laptops, and I wouldn't really say budget desktops because they can get expensive on desktops, but AMD is a big company that people go with graphics on their desktop rigs as well. I happen to have Nvidia. I've kind of just always been an Nvidia person. But basically the quickest way that I can kind of give y'all a tip on how to do this is to go up here into the search bar, or well, in your case it'll be down here. I have mine on the top of my screen, and type in device manager. You click on that, go into display adapter, so just click on this little right arrow here and it'll drop down and it should say what you have. So obviously I have a Nvidia GeForce RTX 2070. Now some of you might have AMD, blah 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 blah, like whatever graphics card it is, and some of you might have Intel, and I'll probably say like Intel integrated graphics or something like that. So that's one way you can tell. So if you have Nvidia, obviously you can keep following along with the tutorial, but if you have AMD or Intel, I can kind of give you a tip on how to get like in-game screenshots without Ansel, but that's totally up to you guys on how you do that. Now another thing that you'll want to make sure that you have, if you have Nvidia, is GeForce Experience. So what this is kind of a Nvidia controller, kind of. It gives you all the settings and stuff for your graphics cards. So it'll allow you to update your drivers pretty much instantly. It'll show you about your rig in here, all the features that your graphics card can handle. Obviously mine is pretty much one of the latest ones, so I'm going to have everything listed in here. But there's game optimization, which I believe pretty much everybody can use. Game stream, which I think if you have over, oh dang, they updated it. It's so you can actually use that with pretty much anything now, which allows you to stream your games. In-game overlay, which would be not what we're talking about, but this basically allows you to record your screen or take pictures or set up a live stream while you're playing, whatever you want to do. Freestyle, which unfortunately is not in Planet Zoo, but this basically is like more filters that you can add into the game to make it look cool. And then Ansel, which is what we're talking about. And of course there's VR as well, which I think you have to have, a 970 or better. That's what my old graphics card was. So with Ansel, you can use it with pretty much anything. I wouldn't say, like, if you have a really outdated system, there's a very low chance that you will be using Ansel. But if you have I would say semi-recent, because like this started in like, I don't know, 2014, 2015, something like that. Well, Ansel didn't. That came out recently. But the whole thing, they updated it back to those kind of graphics cards. So if you have a moderately recent graphics card, then you can use this utility. So one thing that you want to do, and obviously I'm going to show you real quick, like if you don't know how to get GeForce Experience, just search GeForce Experience on Google. It'll come up with the first link, and then obviously you just click download now and it will download it to your computer. So what you want to do is whenever you get into here, go to settings, and then it was photo mode and game filter, and make sure this is turned on. Now, once it's on, you will be able to go into your game, such as Planet Zoo here, and press the Alt F2 keys together, and we'll bring up this photo mode right here, as you can see. Now, I'm going to explain pretty much what all this stuff means and try my best to go over the filters with you, but there's this little capture screenshot list up here, so you can take a regular screenshot, which is just whatever the resolution your monitor is running at. That's what it will take the picture at. Super resolution photo, which I use for the tigers on my channel art. I use that to increase it to 8 times normal resolution, which obviously when you take a picture like that, it's going to eat through some data. I believe the pictures that I take in this resolution are like over 1 gigabyte big, which is, for a photo, that's kind of ridiculous. But you can actually go up to 33 times the resolution, which I don't even know how to say that resolution. 63,360 by 35,640. That's ridiculous, because obviously just the base resolution from this super resolution is 4K. So whatever K this is, 63,000K. You can also do 360 photosphere. So I've never done this one myself. I don't really know how it looks, but I'm sure it's kind of cool. You can do a stereo screenshot, which probably takes a picture, so you can use it in like a Google Cardboard or whatever the like VR things are, other than like, I mean, obviously you could probably look at it in one of the HTC Vibes or whatever. 360 photosphere stereo, so I guess that would probably be good for VR as well. So that's kind of cool. For this, we're going to stick with just regular screenshot though. You have an HDR mode, which unfortunately I can't use. I do not have an HDR monitor, but what I could do is take a picture in HDR. Well, technically I could use it. Take the HDR picture and then I could like send it to my TV and look at it in HDR. That'd be kind of cool. Show grid. I believe this is pretty darn good for like if you're I don't know, if you're really nitpicky about your pictures, this would probably be really nice. I use it sometimes if I'm trying to center on a subject, but for this I will leave it off. So camera over here allows you to roll the camera. So as you can see, sorry if anybody's like getting motion sickness, even I'm kind of getting a little weary from it. I don't really like that. You can tilt the picture a little bit, which I think kind of looks a little cool. We'll leave it at like 6 degrees. Field of view. I use this a lot if I have, say like this, I'm trying to zoom in on a picture and kind of get this dynamic like action shot kind of thing going on. The further away you are, the more it looks like just a video game, but I feel like the closer up you get, the more realistic it looks, in my opinion. So we're going to stick with 64 degrees here. So with the filters, I'm going to go ahead and take off the filters that are on here so I can show you from a clean slate. So brightness and contrast. Obviously this gives you all the typical controls of like a camera, the stuff that you would typically think of if you're taking a really cool picture. We'll turn up the contrast just a little bit, I think. Highlights, you know, all the really cool stuff that you can get really nitpicky on this stuff. I try not to be super picky, but if I'm trying to get a really good picture, I might mess around with these settings just a little bit. So I think that looks pretty neat right there. Next one is going to be color, which allows you to give it a little bit more color than the default game. It's not like a end-all be-all filter. Obviously it's not going to give you the most crazy stuff, but it gives you a little bit of control over the game, which I think is pretty neat. I might not use it for this picture, honestly. I think it looks pretty good. Excuse me. I think it looks pretty good as it is, so we'll kind of leave these colors here. Colorblind, I believe this kind of gives you a control over like controlling, like say if somebody was actually colorblind, it gives you these 3 different settings to kind of replicate that. So that kind of looks trippy. I'm kind of gonna leave that alone. This is the one that almost everybody asked for, which is the depth of field. Now, this allows you to honestly put like a little curve in game, and I can show you by, let's see, if I do blur radius of like 100, so you can clearly see that line coming up towards the front of the camera, where that's the line where the actual focus is. So if you turn down the blur radius a little bit, and I believe, yeah, turn down the blur curve just a little bit. You can also do one in the front, so if you're trying to blur, I wonder, you know what, can I do, there's a thing where you can like blur the front, so like I could blur the lion in the front, his face up here, and then keep the lion in the back focused, which I can do just a tiny bit. I just don't want her to get out of focus, which is, that's a thing. I wonder, darn it, it's really hard to work with this sometimes. So she's, darn it, that is so hard to work. Far blur curve, near blur curve. That is, it's really hard to work with sometimes. Actually, I think I got it right there. Okay. So we're gonna go for blur in the back, and then near blur curve. I'm just gonna blur him just a little bit. So kind of like that. I think that looks pretty darn good. Yeah. Okay, so that's what you would want to go with. So that is depth of field. Details allows you to add some details to it, sharpen the picture and stuff like that. Let me redo that. Did it add? Oh, it added a little bit. So we'll stick with that. Let's see. Sharpen. I think that's okay. Clarity. Oh, that's kind of what it was doing. So a little bit of clarity. You can add some HDR toning to kind of replicate like if you took a picture with a really, really nice camera. Add a little bit of bloom so you can make it quite a bit brighter. I usually leave bloom alone unless I'm trying to mess with like the sun settings. Green screen, which I actually used for, and sorry, this is extremely bright. Like I'm in the dark in my room and this is hurting my eyes. So this is what I used to actually get all the tiger pictures for my channel. I just kind of threw tigers into a pin in free play mode, or in sandbox mode, not free play. And basically like just started taking pictures of everything that I possibly could. For the one of my channel icon, I actually had a tiger climb up on a scratching post, pause the game, move the scratching post away, and it kind of gave that effect of like jumping out of the screen, which I thought was actually pretty cool. And of course you can take the pictures into Photoshop or something like that, whatever your choice is, and remove the background. And then it actually, like, if you do it properly, it keeps the actual fur markings from the animals, which I think is extremely awesome. So this allows you to kind of change where the green screen is in the game. Unfortunately, there's no way to, as far as I know, I don't think there's any way to change the ground to a green screen. So you still have to deal with kind of cutting out the ground if you don't get the perfect picture, which is unfortunate, but I mean, it's okay. So you can change the background color. So depending on what kind of picture you're trying to get, like what color the subject is, it might be more useful to use a blue screen or a red screen or something like that. But for almost everybody, green screen is the way to go. And if you're trying to be, I think it's kind of silly to do this, but you can change the background to something interesting like that. I've never used it. I don't see a reason to, because there's only 2 backgrounds in Ansel currently, so I just leave that alone typically. I'm going to remove the green screen off there. So the next one is going to be letterbox. So if you're trying to get those movie shots or whatever, I typically don't mess with this just because this is something I can add in later. I don't need to take it in Ansel. But maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason, let's say you're trying to get like a, I don't know, a Instagram profile picture or something like that, then you could do that as well. But I will leave letterbox out for right now. Night mode, I believe. So if you take a picture at night, this is supposed to help with it. I've never really messed around with night mode, but it's just another one of those filters that they have in here. Old film, so this is actually kind of cool. Maybe if you're doing some filmography or whatever, taking a video and you're trying to do kind of an old style, like, I don't know, video, I guess. It's weird because this is supposed to be for pictures and that's obviously animated. So it's kind of a cool filter. I've never used it, never seen a reason to use it, but maybe in the future. Panthera-Tora, so this kind of gives you that, like, I guess it's going for like a watercolor picture kind of thing. I've never really seen a reason for it, but it's neat. You can get a little creative with it, I presume, but again, I've never really seen a huge reason to use this one. Panthera-Tora remove HUD, so I believe this one is only really useful for like a game that doesn't take away the HUD, the actual like UI in game, but obviously Planet Zoo allows us to completely remove that when we go into Ansel, so no big deal there, no need for that in our game. Sharpen kind of sharpens the details in a picture. For this one it's not really necessary, but it's really cool. I used it on a saltwater crocodile and it made it look extremely cool. It kind of brought out the colors on the scales. I could probably overlay that picture real quick to kind of give you a detail of it, but sharpen is pretty useful if you're trying to get really cool detailed pictures. Special effects. So this gives you kind of control over some really cool different effects that you can use in the game. I think retro is really neat. Kind of gives it an old like video game look to me, kind of like a tube TV or tube monitor. Sketch kind of gives you obviously like the idea of like somebody drew this or something like that. Halftone, I don't know. I think that kind of makes it look like it was made for like a retro TV or something like that. Or like those giant monitors that you would see in like New York or like at a football game or something. Sepia kind of gives it like a little tint, kind of like a retro tint to it, which does look kind of cool, but just not for this picture. And that's all for special effects. And then you have stickers, so we can throw emojis onto here. That I've never seen that one. That's absolutely amazing. What in the heck is this? Okay, that's my first time ever seeing this, and it's adorable, but like, what the heck? Okay, there's a rooster, there's a dog, alpaca, a mustache. So let's throw a mustache on our lion up here. Lioness, my bad. Up and down, and then size. Rotation, so it can be rotated just a little bit. Sure. This has got to be the best thing I've ever seen in game. Oh man. Come on, I'm trying to get to like 53. Oh well, it's not going to let me, but you get the idea. Oh gosh, of course we've got the freaking, I can't even remember what these were called. Deal with it glasses. And then a king crown. That's pretty cool. I like the kitten though. I've never seen that before. Tilt shift. So kind of gives you more of a blur up top and on the bottom, probably along the sides as well if I'm not mistaken. I've never used this one, but I could see how it could be incredibly useful. In fact, I might start using it in the future. So it just looks like at the top and the bottom. Yeah, that's kind of cool. It could be useful for sure. So blur curve. Whoa, that's really, really blurry. So we're not going to use it for this picture, but that is really cool. So I can't even pronounce this one. Vignette. I feel like such an idiot say that. I've heard it pronounced different ways before, but basically it kind of gives you this little black blur around the edges, kind of give you more of that like old school vibe. So you could probably pair this together with sepia to kind of give you like a super old school looking picture from like, I don't know, the 1600s, 1700s, something like that. I'm saying that, but I really mean the 1800s. That's just stupidity and me being tired. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we are down to the last one, which is watercolor, which I said earlier the special effects up there kind of give you a watercolor, but this is more of a realistic watercolor. I think it looks more like an actual watercolor, but super cool. Kind of gives you that little like texture to it as well, which kind of makes you feel like it's on a canvas, which I think is pretty neat. Again, I've never really needed it, but it is pretty neat. So the last thing that we are going to do here, well, obviously I can show you how to do this. So if you press the insert button on your keyboard, which you can see here as well, it allows you to hide the UI, so you can kind of get a, like, I don't know, an overview of what picture you're taking. I did not mean to do that. I accidentally rotated it. So we can go back to, I think it was, yeah, like that. But yeah, insert hides the UI, kind of allows you to look at the picture before you actually take it, which I think is really neat myself. I've used a lot, especially if I'm trying to show off a picture before I actually take it. I will do that. Let's go back to camera, roll it 8 degrees. There we go. And then the last thing that you can do is obviously take the picture. So I'm going to hide the hood here, snap the picture, and as you can see, Ansel is now showing us that we took the screenshot and it has been saved to our gallery. Now, by default in Ansel, it saves it to your videos file in Windows, which is kind of interesting. I still don't really know why they do that. I would think it would go to pictures over here, but it doesn't. It actually goes into here and then saves it into a folder called Planet Zoo. And then right here, you can see that we now have our new in-game screenshot. So there you have it. That is Ansel. So if you guys like this video, definitely leave a like. If you really liked it, feel free to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon. And I am popping my back right now. Ah, that feels good. I will see you guys in the next video. If you have any like suggestions for things that you need to see or things that would help you out in game, definitely let me know and I will get on that as soon as I can. So I will see you in the next one.